La Dolce Vita is the most well-known film by Federico Fellini. It's a drama about posh youth in Rome, heartless, feelingless, and vicious. But actually, it isn't the most representative work for Fellini. Before that, all his movies had been telling about regular people living in a cruel contemporary world, with their dreams, desires, and disillusionments. So, his very next full-length movie after La Dolce Vita was 8.5. Why 8.5? This was the total number of his films by that time. 8 full-length films and an episode in an anthology. It's a semi-autobiographical movie with a loosely tied plot about a filmmaker struggling with a creative block and trying to settle his family life. Fellini used here an allegorical cinematic language. It was far from all he'd shot before. He was shooting about himself, his thoughts and fantasies. He was apparently passing through a creative crisis in his career, and he didn't want to put any plot limits in this work. The result was overwhelming. The movie was considered one of the greatest in the history of the Italian cinema. A lot of critics have been praising 8.5 until now, and there were even some same-looking films, like the well-known All That Jazz by Bob Fosse. So, after 8.5 made it big, Fellini hasn't ever returned to any realistic and social themes in his works. All his further movies were talking about some abstract worlds, surrealistic images, and allegoric scenes. For example, Fellini's Roma is an anthology of the expression of all his feelings, recollections, and impressions of this city. Fellini's Satyricon, a wide-scale, grotesque, and surrealistic vision of the famous ancient book. By the way, it could have been a really picturesque, common-styled fantasy if Fellini hadn't been chosen the appropriate plot. And The Ship Sails On, an exquisite musical drama which depicts some eccentric people from high society in the beginning of the 20th century. Juliet of the Spirits, which intends to show us an internal world of a woman in a fantasy manner, her hopes, desires, and thoughts. Orchestra Rehearsal. This one is my favorite Fellini's film. Its action proceeds in limited space and tells about a rehearsal of an orchestra, which gradually turns into a disorder, chaos, and even a riot by the people who were initially just artists without any thought of violence. Generally speaking, almost all the Fellini films made after 8.5 are full of pathos, glamour, luxuriousness, and colors. Fellini didn't try to be persuasive in his art. His movies are often quite difficult to follow by plot, whereas he didn't aim to blow up your brain though, or to shock you. They should be felt as they are, because they are full of mood and feelings and astonishing scenes, and the plot is something secondary here. Don't worry though, in some future episodes we'll discuss some of his films closely enough.